So,
Hello, friends, and hi, Siddhant.
right.
So, we are back with our second video. In the first video, we covered few strategies for cracking an exam like CAT or XAT. Uh, some of you will recall, or for the benefit of rest of you, we would like to just recap what we were discussing. The first point that we had discussed was that it's very, very important to have a can-do mindset when you are appearing for an exam like CAT, because it does not require you to have very high level of knowledge or does not expect you to know everything. So anybody who is an average student with a good amount of planned hard work can actually mm, clear this exam and probably get a call from one of the top institutes, MBA institutes. So Siddhant, we will take it forward from here. It is relatively easy for you or me to say so now that we have already done our MBA and we have it behind us.
Hmm.
But let us discuss, how does one student who is probably in final year of graduation or just a graduate who is now thinking of appearing for an exam like CAT, which is unarguably the toughest objective type exam in India,
Right.
how does the student get this confidence and this belief to start with? Once you get into the groove, then you start probably solving some problems, getting your fundamentals clear, then you gradually get that confidence.
Mhm.
Ab initio, what are your views? I'll also add my views on it, but what are your views? How does a student who is probably just starting to prepare get this level of confidence or the mindset which is required for such an exam?
Right. So I think it's a very important question because considering the kind of perception that has been created around this exam, a lot of people, I personally know a lot of people who didn't even take the exam. They wanted to take the exam, but when they started preparing, like, few days in, or for a lot of people who didn't even start preparing, they looked at the profile of the students, they looked at, the others who had already made it through the exam, and they just quit. They went, it's meant for the engineers, it's meant for people with an academic pedigree. I am not cut out, I'm not from a brand name college, or I don't have a great academic career, or I'm not an engineer, I'm from one of the other fields, and therefore, I'm not a good fit for this. And that, I think, it's something a lot to do with perception, because it's not false that statistically engineers do form a majority of the population taking the CAT. However, it doesn't mean that CAT as an exam means you have to be an engineer to crack it. I am not an engineer. You're not an engineer. And a lot of colleges have gotten to a point where more than 10 or 20% of their incoming population, their incoming students, are not engineers, because the colleges themselves are trying to promote diversity. And on top of it, it makes for very boring discussions even in classroom, if it's filled with the same kind of people with the same experiences, with the same professional degree, with the same kind of job experience, and so on and so forth. So I think the first and possibly the most important thing that anyone who's starting to prepare for this exam is to understand that you are not at any disadvantage due to any number of reasons. You might right now not be very well prepared. There might be a lot of weak areas in your preparation. You might not understand the exam very well enough, and those are all things that can be worked upon. The only thing that no one else can help you is deciding that, yes, this is something that I want to do. I mean, you could go to n number of coaching institutes, you could talk to your friends, you could solve n number of books, but all of that comes secondary to you actually wanting to take the exam and deciding that, what, this is something that I want to go forward with. And one very important technique that I have found, and personally, it worked very well for me, because I was going through the same doubts when I had started preparing, because I'm a physics graduate from Delhi University, and in my course, when I joined in my course at XLRI, I was the only physics graduate in my entire batch. There were a lot of people from Delhi University, but I was the only physics graduate. So statistically, people from a pure sciences background, there are very few in the colleges, and I was very apprehensive whether or not I'll make it in. And I think the best way to go about it is your beliefs are reinforced by the reality that you see around yourself. The one thing that, if you are today, if you're starting today, you have no idea what the CAT is, if you don't know what the paper is like, you don't know what you have to study, I suggest you sit down with one question paper. You take as long as you need, be it 3 hours, 6 hours, a day, 3 days, doesn't matter, but just sit down and solve that question. You'll see that even if it takes you more than, if it takes you 6 hours, or maybe takes you 8 hours spread over 2 days, these are all questions you can solve. None of the questions on that question paper are so difficult that require you to have additional knowledge. None of those questions are anything that you have not studied before. These are all things that you know. And the only challenging part about that exam is that you need to learn how to solve these number of questions within the set time. But when it comes to
Right.
actually the questions, there's nothing that you can't do. And once you see that, given enough time, if, maybe you take 6 hours instead of 3 hours, but if you can solve 80% of those questions, or you can solve 60% of those questions, that already puts you in the top 99 percentile.
Correct. I would want to add one thing here. In terms of your preparation, as I said, probably it is easier for us to say that you have to start believing yourself, but then how does one get that belief when one is just starting? You obviously go through fundamentals, you take some tests, and then you start getting confidence that you can do it. One thing that you can probably try, and personally I have tried and it worked for me, but again, a word of caution, I'm saying just because it worked for me doesn't mean it will work for you exactly in the same manner, because we have been stressing on the fact that everybody is different and the way that everybody will think or prepare will be different. But I'm just giving you one idea. You can think for yourself what will work for you. But Siddhant, when I was preparing for CAT for the first time, I was completely ignorant about the level of competition or the kind of people who qualify. I didn't even bother. I did not get into that fact that 90% engineers used to qualify at that time, that too mostly from IITs and all.
Right.
So when you are kind of completely shutting things off, this extra information which is not helping your preparation in any manner,
Correct.
You are only focusing on what you can do best.
Right.
So for an exam like this, it is important that you become ignorant in terms of other factors or
Right.
other details.
Right.
You just start pretending that you don't know any of this.
Mm-hmm.
That it is very tough, probably, it is highly quant based.
I agree. I completely agree.
So being ignorant when you are starting in terms of what others can do or what kind of people get into these kinds of institutes, forget about all those. Just focus on what you can do.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying it is important to be ignorant in terms of the other aspects that lead to success.
Right. Adding on
As
to
we
that,
have been saying.
Yeah. And there's this one quote that I read somewhere. I don't remember where anymore. But what it said was, never compare your beginning to someone else's middle. If you start thinking
Absolutely.
about, the one guy who's already scoring 95 on his mocks while you're struggling to hit the 75, the point is that person has been working at it maybe for 3 extra months. So this person has 3 extra months of preparation behind him that you don't right now. And therefore it's not an apples to apples comparison. That person has more experience. That person has, been at this game much longer. And obviously, therefore, this person is better than you. So the only person
Correct.
you need to be competing against is yourself. What you
Correct.
need to do is, if you're scoring a 75 right now, your next target should be a 78. But that's it. If you start comparing yourself with someone who's scoring a 95, it doesn't help you. However, moving from that 75 to that 78, that's an actual quantitative improvement that you can see for yourself.
Right. To be able to do so, you can try various things. We have also designed CAT screening tests, as we call them. So anybody interested in taking these tests can share their email on our website. We'll be happy to share the tests with any of you. You can try and see how well you perform in these tests. These are not as lengthy as the actual CAT. These are probably 1.5 hour tests, but probably on exactly similar lines as the actual CAT is. So we have designed multiple tests which are of varying degree of difficulty. You can take at least 3 tests over next couple of days to see where exactly you understand.
Right.
We will also.
I think that we have lost him. Just give me 1 second and I'll get him back on. Yeah, sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. He's back online. Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. So I was just saying that we have designed 3 CAT screening tests, which are of 1.5 hour duration. You will have half the number of questions as you have in the actual, in comparison to what you have in actual CAT. So as of now, last few years, you have 100 questions in CAT. We will have 50 questions, and we have designed multiple such tests, which will actually, if you take probably 3 of these tests, you will exactly know where you stand. If you are interested in knowing where you stand when you are starting to prepare, you can probably share your email ID with us, and we will be happy to share these tests with you. We will also help and analyze these tests for you in terms of your strengths and weaknesses, and suggest which are the areas where you need probably more focus and more help, and which are the areas where you are already probably at par with others who are likely to take this test, or the average standard that is expected from these tests. So 3 different mock CAT screening tests you must take for having a realistic assessment of where exactly you stand as of now when you are planning to prepare for it.
Right.
Okay.
And I'd
Siddhant,
I'd also like to point out to the people, who might be interested in this, understand this, that, whatever score you might get, that is not a reflection on you. In order for you to effectively and, have your preparation going on in an optimal manner, it's very important to understand where you're standing right now. So you might be tempted to exceed the time limit, or, take the help of a calculator and so on and so forth. We'd urge you not to do that right now, because the more accurate your results are, the better we'll be able to help you in identifying what your strengths and weaknesses are. And that's going to be critical when you are starting your preparation in terms of where to focus your attention to.
Correct. So take it like you would take an actual test. Stick to the same timelines. Just see which are the questions which you could solve, which are the questions which you could solve probably with a little more ease, which are the questions that you could solve but you found it difficult, or probably you had to spend more time than you could possibly you should be ideally be allocating to a question, and which are the ones which you could not simply crack no matter how much you tried given the time. So we will actually assess each of these areas, and then accordingly you will have a different strategy for each of these areas. Do not worry if your score right now is only about 25, 30, 40, whatever percent, does not matter. What matters is we realistically assess our own strengths and weaknesses, and then accordingly worked, keeping in mind what timeline we have in hand.
Exactly.
Okay, good. So Siddhant, we also said that in today's video we will cover some section. So we can probably start with VARC today.
Sure.
Okay. So we all know that as of now we have 34 questions in VARC. 24 of these questions are on reading comprehension. Right. So you have 3 large passages which have 6 questions each, and then you have 2 small passages, relatively smaller passages, right, which have 3 questions each. Right. The rest 10 questions are from the verbal ability section, as we call it, right, which will have jumbled paragraph or
the
paragraph completion,
justification,
inferences, yes, those things. Now, the first thing that we would want to advise you is, do not go to take these exams with this idea that you are going to get 34 questions with this many passages and that many. CAT is known to surprise the test takers every couple of years, though they might change the pattern anytime. But what we want you to be aware of is the number of passages may change from probably 5 to 8 or probably 3 only. Right. That is not relevant. What is relevant is you must know how long are you taking to probably read and understand a passage which is say about of 800 words. How long are you taking to read and understand a passage which is of about say 500 to 600 words. So accordingly you will have to probably look at a plan which will work best for you in terms of taking this VARC section. As we know, you are not allowed to move to another section during that time specified. So if you have 10 questions, we will, as illustration or for example, we will consider probably 34 questions as a benchmark, which is what they are using right now. But it's just a word of caution that you should be prepared for any change in the format also. But when we are saying that you have 10 questions on verbal ability, which will have parajumpals and inferences and those things, how much time can you really spend on that, or how much time do you want to spend on that, considering that you will have 5 passages to answer, which will have 24 questions on them. So if you are strong in VA verbal ability section, you probably should try and finish these off in probably at the most 15 minutes, these 10 questions, so that you are left with a good 45 minutes for those remaining, the reading comprehension sections, which has got 24 questions. If you are looking at a good score, it is not advisable to skip one passage, to leave out one passage, because which you can probably do in some sections. We'll come to probably DEILR, you can probably take that chance. But verbal section, it's difficult. So you'll have to probably attempt all. So your time allocation between the verbal ability and the reading comprehension section has to be very, very fine tuned to match your abilities, where you can use your abilities to the best. And then few things that Siddhant, we often talk about that reading is a habit. People who are well read have an advantage and all. I don't think it takes more than a couple of months of reading, of topics of diverse subjects and all, to be able to come up to the level that you are expected to be at in an exam like this. So while it is all good to say that probably somebody who's very well read, and you'll always listen to probably toppers talking about how they have been reading books since they were kid and all, and how they have been reading newspapers. Do not worry if you are not one of them. If you have not been an avid reader, if you're not well read, does not matter. Start from now. Read 1 or 2 good newspapers, read any good novel. And when you are reading, what kind of questions does reading comprehension section ask? Typically, you will find that 5 or 6 variants of questions are typically there. You could probably add more, but I would just like to list some of them. One, they can ask you to suggest what could be the best title for the passage. Second, they will say that what is the main theme of the passage. Third, they will talk about what is the supporting idea or theme of the passage. And then they will say, when the author is saying this, what exactly does he or she mean? Then they will say, or what is the tone of the author when he or she is saying this? Or they will say, what can you infer from this given passage or given paragraph? So whenever you are doing any kind of reading, try and run through these questions. It could be a newspaper article, but then try and find out what according to you is the tone of that particular article. What is could be a possibly the best heading for that particular article. Don't go by the heading which is already given. You think of probably could there be a better heading for that particular article. So whenever you are reading in terms of preparing for reading comprehension section of CAT, always keep these questions in mind, that when I'm reading, probably these are the questions that reading comprehension section would ask me later. So always think for anything that you are reading, whether you are in a position to answer these questions. As I said, what could be the best topic for it, the heading for it, what is the main idea, what are the supporting ideas, what can be inferred from the passage, what is the tone of the author, all those questions. So then we come to the reading speed. Of course, when you practice, your speed increases, but I don't think it requires a very, very, very kind of, you don't really need to be a very fast reader. It's more important to understand things in terms of what the author or the passage is trying to say, and then probably look at the kind of questions and then see what makes sense to you. Are you able to grasp them in the first reading? Ideally, you don't have much time to actually go back and forth the passage, so try and understand it in the first reading. But as Siddhant had told that day, and I also we had added that it is what suits you best. These are some broad guidelines that we are trying to share with you, but what works for you is No, you have to decide, and we will help you find that out as to in terms of your performance, what kind of strategy worked best for you.
Right.
For the VA, probably you can add something on the reading comprehension section, Siddhant, and then probably go on to verbal ability questions.
So
How did you prepare?
I think you have covered most of it in terms of, the types of questions and the sort of techniques that are needed. I think all of that is covered. I'd like to talk about the why of it. Because when you start reading, while you are outside a B school, I have heard this question often, even when I was preparing, even I had this question, that why do I need to have this section like reading comprehension? Obviously, I know English. That's how I, passed my school. That's how I passed my college. But the fact is that once you get into a B school, one of the top B schools at the very least, on a daily average, I was reading anywhere between 50 to 100 pages a day, because there were cases in each of the subjects. There were the textbooks, there were the readings, there were the assignments, there were, other papers that I had to do. If, for example, if you wanted to do a thesis in your second year, there were papers that you had to read. So a B school is going to be very difficult for you if you are not good at reading. You don't have to necessarily like to read, it shouldn't have to be a person who reads as a hobby, but it shouldn't be that, books turn you off. Like if you look at a book and you immediately start feeling sleepy or things like that. Because the way the syllabus and the curriculum and the course structure is designed, you'll be doing a lot of reading. And in those...
And just one point here.
Yeah.
Just in between. I'm saying, and if you are not really, very fond of reading, start with subjects or topics which you want to read. If you're a sports enthusiast, read more about sports. Read sports books. Start from there, and you will then probably gradually build an interest.
Correct. And trust me, there are books about everything. No matter how niche you think your interests are, or how few people you know around in your social circle or in your friend circle who know about or are interested in the topic, there is someone who has written something about that. All you need to do is find it. If you can't find the books, there are plenty of blogs, there are articles on the internet. Now everyone has a smartphone. So trust me on this, that you'll never run out of things to read. However, the fact is that, when you're preparing for the reading comprehension section, no matter the pattern, no matter the number of questions, no matter the type of questions, no matter the number of passages, what it essentially is trying to do is see that can this person read on a sustained basis over 2 years? Because that will essentially be your life once you have hit the B school. There were days when, for example, if I had a particularly loaded day the next day, and there were every class has a case discussion, and most of the classes, every class is a new case. So there were days when I was reading 20-25 page long Harvard cases for 5 different classes. So that's essentially like reading a novel in one night with 5 different topics for 5 different classes. So I'd have a marketing case, I'd have a finance case, I'd have an accounts case. So when you are practicing for reading comprehension, don't just think about just the exam. Think of it as preparation for your life in a B school, because then it works in both ways. A, you are sort of building upon that belief also, and B, this exam is not the end all be all of it, because that exam is preparing you for a life in a B school, which is pretty hectic, pretty competitive once you get to it. So
correct. So what they are trying to probably check at this level stage itself is that whether you can read and whether you can make sense of what you are reading.
Correct. Because when you're reading cases, things come at you from left field. These are about companies you have never heard of, in countries and settings and times that you know nothing about, and it ends with a problem. And until you understand the context of that, you will never get to the problem, and you'll never understand the problem, and which means that that entire case-based methodology of teaching falls flat. So reading comprehension is not just about those 34 questions or those 24 questions. They are actually checking that whether or not you have the skills to be able to cope in a B school setting like that. So that's the first point I want to talk about. And the second point, the techniques and everything, obviously, Sanjeev sir has talked about it in pretty good detail. And obviously, there's a lot more, but it's difficult to capture all that in a 1 hour webinar. But 2 things. A, understand your own method, because you will have a method, and once you have read enough, you will realize that method. Some people like to read with a finger running across under every word. That's a technique I've seen a lot of people use. Some people read aloud, some people read silently. If you have read for, let's say, 10 days, not even 10 days, 1 week, If you read consistently for 1 week, you'll start to see these patterns. And these patterns will help you a lot once the exam actually rolls around. So that's the first part. And second is, uh, in a lot of cases, there are other ways to solve the question. Not so. For example, the options can be very confusing at times. The article can be very abstruse. So, for example, I think the year I took the CAT, there was a passage on philosophy which made absolutely no sense to me. Like every sentence was maybe 5 or 7 lines long. So by the time I got to the end of one sentence, I'd forgotten what the beginning of the sentence was. And in those cases, your other techniques like elimination or just selectively reading, all of these things come in handy. But in order for you to be able to use these tools, they need to be in your toolkit. So don't just depend on one particular technique. It's perfectly fine to have your own style and have a technique which works for you, but have everything in your arsenal. Because even though sometimes an advanced reader comes across a passage which is so difficult that they can't make sense of it, have these other tools as well. And
and these 5 passages will be on such diverse topics that not possible for anybody to have an interest across all those topics that they cover in probably in one paper. So you will typically have out of 5 probably 3 topics which will be from your area of interest or what you have read, and 1 or 2 probably very very arcane or difficult kind of topics that you would not be comfortable with. So you have to pick those and probably attempt them later, and probably even if you're not able to crack or answer all the questions out of those few 1 or 2 passages, it's still okay. Do not let it affect your performance in the other areas.
Right. Because I remember when I was taking the exam, there was a passage on Greek mythology, one on archaeology, and one on chocolate making, I think. There's absolutely no way that you knew anything about all 3 of these topics. So when it comes down to the exam, you have to treat that passage ab initio, like a clean slate. You can't assume that, because it's a CAT exam, it will only be economics or finance or, corporate related topics. It's not like that. It can be anything. And what the exam is trying to judge you, that no matter what the passage is in front of you, can you read it and make sense of it?
Correct. So a lot of other strategies will depend on you, on your learning style, on your reading style, on the way you comprehend things. So you have to really start reading slowly and then see, as I said, probably try and answer these basic questions in terms of, have you understood what is the main idea of whatever you have read? What are the supporting ideas there? What could be the best possible heading or title for that passage? So all those things. What is the tone of the author? Is it probably supportive or critical, or what kind of, or humorous? What kind of tone is there? So all those things you try and answer whenever you are reading something. Siddhant, let us come to the verbal ability section now, where we, as of now, have 10 questions. 4 or 5 of them are para jumbles, and a lot of people find it very very difficult to crack, because you don't know where the sentence, paragraph is starting, from which sentence, where it is. And a lot of people find it very difficult. What would you say has been your strategy, or what could be in general a strategy for somebody to handle this para jumble section of VA?
So I'll give you my technique. Doesn't have to work for you necessarily. Could be something else also. Again, you have to figure that out. I'll give you what my technique used to be. Whenever I started, so I remember it used to be sentence 1, then 4 sentences, then 1 ending sentence. And that these 4 sentences were the ones which were jumbled. So that first sentence gives you the topic. It, sort of tells you what this article is going to be about. And the conclusion gives you the conclusion. But when I was attempting these questions, what my technique used to be was that I'd read the first sentence and then think, where can this sentence go next? For example, let's say my sentence opens with that Leonardo Messi is one of the foremost footballers of the world. Now, that sentence can only go in a few different directions. It can either talk about Leonardo Messi, it can talk about football, or it can talk about why he's such a great player. Then I'd go to my options and see, are those topics being covered by any of those sentences? And then once I have that, and it almost inevitably, because see, so every sentence is made up of these words, which are these ideas in themselves. So example, Leonardo Messi is one idea, football player is one idea, world is one idea. So you look for these ideas because in a paragraph which is written in a structured way, every idea leads into another. So you look for those ideas as and when they are coming up next. And once you have that, you move it to the next. You read the entire 2 sentences again once. See if it makes sense. If it makes sense, you look at your second sentence, you look at those words, and you move to the next thing again. And you sort of, go in this for loop kind of a situation where, you go just one sentence, one and two, one, two, and three. And then by the time you've gotten to a sixth sentence, you have a paragraph which makes sense. Again, now this is my way of doing it. There are other methods also. There are methods which start bottom up, which look at the conclusion and which look at which sentence leads to this conclusion. Or there are methods which try to eliminate from the options. Look at the options, see if there's any outright ridiculous options in those 4 options. Like, for example, 2 sentences which absolutely don't make any sense together in that order. You eliminate that and then you look at the remaining options. So there are a lot of different techniques.
Also Siddhant, if you are really well read, that thing that we covered while discussing reading comprehension, it tells you what kind of sentence will follow what kind of sentence.
Exactly.
So there are many clues which you will get once you are into reading, which will tell you that this can only follow that.
Right.
So there are probably pairs which will help you identify what will follow or what will precede what.
Right.
So you'll have to, and there are a lot of other clues that we will probably guide you, take you through over the period. There are a lot of clues. While it apparently seems very confusing, but there are a lot of hints that you can, as Siddhant said, probably you start with the idea and see how you can probably build it from there. Similarly, there are various other views. Grammatically, there are few things that will follow something, few other things. So a lot of other clues which are there.
Yeah, subject-verb agreement, very important subject-verb agreement. Because there are questions which, where there's a comma, it's not a full stop, it's a comma, and then the next idea comes across. So in that case, just look at the closest subject, and then, the verb coming right after it would be in consonance of that word. So, that way it just gives you a very easy clue to see what the next sentence should be.
And there are various kind of, probably paragraphs. We will probably cover it in detail later. We are only trying to probably give some basic, framework of how to approach this. So a few other questions that are there in verbal ability. Siddhant, my point is that, reading is so important that besides reading comprehension, of course, it is going to help you for the verbal ability section of VARC. It's also going to help you in every other section of CAT, because as I said, a lot of logic is to be applied.
Right.
There's no direct question where you can apply, even in quantity, there's no question where you can directly apply a formula and get the result. You have to think about it. You have to understand and comprehend the question. So reading is very, very important. If you are thinking of taking CAT in 2020, if you have not probably started reading till now, start it today, not tomorrow.
Right.
Do it today. Read for at least 1 or 2 hours today, and then see. Try and understand those things or comprehend it in the manner that we just suggested that you should do. Okay, Siddhant, what would you say? We discussed that probably in these sectional areas, what kind of score, because typically VARC is an area where you have a higher score. I mean, it's a high scoring area.
Right.
Here probably out of 34, you need to have around 30, 31 correct answers to be in 99 and above percentile.
Right, easily.
So is it fair to say that there's no scope for you to leave out any question in VARC?
Definitely.
Because even if you have 90% accuracy, only if you attempt all 34, then you can probably get about 30 correct.
Right, correct. And with VARC, it's a different ball game altogether. Because if you look at DILR, where the other section where there are sets of questions, in a lot of cases, the questions themselves are interlinked. So you either get all of them or you get none of them. Maybe your question 4 will say like, basis question 3, what should be the answer? Or, it'll be like that one of those Einstein puzzles, I think they're called, where, there are 5 people who drive 5 cars, live in 5 houses, etc. So in that cases, you either get the entire matrix or you get none of it. So in those cases, it still makes sense to leave out the question because you are investing 10, 12 minutes of your time. And if you don't get it, it's, you lose all of it. In RC,
That
that's not.
entire time is wasted. Yeah.
Exactly. In RC, in VA RC, and especially RC, that's not really the case. Fine, there might be one or two questions you can't crack, but then there are, maybe three or four other questions in that section that you'll get, and every RC
Correct.
has, two or three, at least two easy questions. Not all of the questions are very difficult. Some of them are.
And you think of it this way, in DILR or quant, you are being asked a certain question, and then you have to probably do a lot of thinking, calculation, probably apply formulas and all.
Right.
In VARC, you are given a passage, or probably in RC particularly, you're given a passage and you are asked questions out of that only.
Correct.
It's not that you have to look around and then think
Correct.
that what possibly can be a solution and all. So it's
Right.
just that application of mind,
Right.
on that particular paragraph, and the amount of practice or the reading that you have already done, which will
Exactly.
give you the right answer.
Exactly.
It probably will not escape your mind, if you are really practiced it that way. And as Siddhant was saying, probably DILR will have certain sections, problems where you'll have to skip them because you know nothing about, or one look at it, you'll know that it's going to take a lot of time, probably
Right.
10-15
Exactly.
minutes to solve a 4 questions set. So you can
Right.
probably skip. PARC, you'll have to probably try and attempt almost all the questions,
Right.
and then try and get at least 90% of them correct. It is an area where even non-engineering graduates have probably equal a chance of doing well.
Right. Right.
We keep talking about non-engineering graduate, which is not to say that we have kind of a bias against engineering graduate, but the general perception is such that most of the people who qualify are engineers. So it's not the case. Of course, engineers have some advantage, an inherent advantage in terms of the quant and other areas. We are not suggesting that you can apply all these strategies only if you are a non-engineer.
Correct.
These strategies will work depending on what kind of an individual you are.
Right.
So VARC section, we will probably for some of the other areas we will go in detail subsequently, probably after a couple of more videos.
Right.
Besides reading, besides practice, one or two specific points that you would want to add, Siddhant, in terms of a student really wanting to do well in this section?
So again, this is from my experience. It may work for you, it may not work for you, but I believe that in order to truly ace VARC, and I'm not saying it's not possible, it's definitely possible, you have to get to a point where reading becomes instinctive to you. So there are quite a few ways to solve a problem, right? Like there's the standard algorithmic way, that if I want to do 2 plus 2, I start with 2 and I go 3, 4, and then that gives me my 2 plus 2, which is the algorithmic way. However, when I say 2 plus 2, you don't have to go through 2 steps. You just immediately go 4, because you have developed an instinct for it because of how long you have known that for, and how much practice you've had at 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. So I believe that, and VARC is a section which just boosts up your score. If you can get a 99 there, even if you have a 90 in quant and a 90 on logical interpretation and data reasoning, that's it. Matlab LRDI and quant, even if you have a 90 there, if you get a 90 on VARC, it will push you over to a 97 or 98 in overall percentile. So that is an area, and it's different for different people. But I think that VARC, because of the kind of questions that are asked and because of the distribution of questions, it's an area which can really help you boost up your overall percentile, just because of the way these questions are structured. And to be able to actually get there, you need to read so much and you need to practice so much that you develop an instinct for it. Because
correct, and everything is given there. As I said, you don't really have to think that as to what exactly is the question asking and what formula do I apply. What kind of a triangle is it, and what. So it's not that everything is given there. It's just that application of mind and a lot of practice, which will actually help you master this particular area or section.
And it just doesn't stop there. I think there's also this, when it comes to VARC, I remember when I took the paper in 2016, the ZAT, the paper for XLRI, it had a poem in the reasoning comprehension section. Now, I don't think it had ever been done before. So until unless you have that instinct, your first response to that is going to be panic. that, I read my RCs, I had my 800 words down. Now I have this 5 stanza poem. What do I do with this? So that instinct you'll have to develop, and that only comes with practice. That's my first point. And my second point is that VARC as a section itself, A, it's not very difficult, and B, as long as you're putting in the practice, it's something that anyone can do, which is true for the entire exam, to be very honest.
Correct.
But
Correct.
VARC takes a lot less time because you are doing reading on a very general, on a very daily basis also. For LRDI or quant, you have to sit down with a pen and paper to solve that question. LRD, like quant, you can read anywhere. You can read on your phone while you're having your tea in the morning. You can read if you're on the metro. You can read if you're traveling to work.
Correct. You can pick up a novel and probably read it before you go to bed. Yeah, so you can actually, and the time that you allocate to reading need not be part of that your planned study hours. When we say that you need to have an individual study plan, you can probably have a plan of studying for 4 to 5 hours, do a lot of things during that, and probably have additional 1 hour for reading alone. And during that time, read anything that is read a John Grisham, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So it is something which will help you.
Yeah.
Sorry?
So wait, even if you're reading, like, if you're reading a popular novel, or if you're reading an article on the internet, that's still helping you develop.
Everything helps. Everything.
You're
yes.
Still on the
everything
clock.
helps.
Still on the clock. Even though you're not realizing,
everything
helps.
helps.
On the clock.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is it in terms of the VARC section. We will continue to come with more videos. We'll cover the other 2 sections, and we'll probably have more tips. As I said, we have designed 3 CAT screening tests. Any of you interested in taking those tests can share your email ID on our website, which is www.eklavya.learning.com. We will share those CAT screening tests one by one with you. Then we will analyze your test performance or the results and share it with you, which will exactly tell you where you stand in terms of your preparation, where you stand as in what are the areas where you'll need to probably invest more time and work hard, which are the areas where you can still probably spend less time and cover the gap that you still have, and which are the areas where probably, given the time that we have in hand, probably it's not worthwhile to probably invest a lot of time, considering the number of questions which actually come from that area. And considering where you stand currently on them. The whole idea is not to master everything that is going to be asked. As I said, it is to clear this. It's just probably a hurdle that you need to clear. So as I said, very importantly, you can probably take these tests, at least take 3 of them. As I said, instead of the 3-hour time for CAT, we have designed this screening test which are of 1.5 hours. So they have 50 questions each. Take at least 3 of these tests one after another, which will help you and us get a clear idea about your strengths and weaknesses. And thereafter, we can probably carve out a very individual study plan for you. As I said, our objective is to try and help everybody who's getting in touch with us get into one of the top MBA colleges.
Right, of course.
Siddhant, one question which is not probably related to specifically CAT or VARC section. We will discuss about what exams the students have to take for entrance into what college, because it's very confusing. CAT is accepted by FMS, and then probably some other institutes accept some other exams and all. So probably next session we will start with that.
Sure.
We will probably list down top few MBA entrance exams and which are the top colleges that you can get into after clearing those exams, which is very, very important for us to. We will also try and cover the cutoff marks, the total marks and the cutoff marks that you are expected to be at if you want to get a call from one of the top colleges that we would want you to get into. So we'll cover that, and then we will probably cover DILR section along with this information that we.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Anything that you want to add towards the end for the aspirants?
Yeah. So just the fact that I know it's a cliche, everyone says it, but it's important to believe in yourself. Not because it's something that I'm asking you to do or something, but mostly because it's not that difficult. It might look that way from where you're standing right now. You might not be prepared as much, you might not even know all that much about that. To be very honest, I did not know. When I started preparing, I didn't even know about colleges like IIFT or Narsi Monji or JBIMS. I honestly hadn't even heard of them. The first attempt I took the exams, I only took the CAT and the XAT, and that was it. It was in my next attempt when I was a little more prepared that I even found out about the other colleges and the other exams like IIFP and MAT and so on and so forth. So irrelevant of where you are in your journey right now, it's not impossible. You would be surprised at the people who have made it through and from what points they have made it through. All it's going to take is you doing consistent, sincere, and smart effort. These three words are very important. You need to be consistent, you need to be sincere in it, and you need to be very smart about it. And as long as you are doing
Correct.
all of these three things, there's nothing that's stopping you.
Correct. And I would say, I would just add one more word probably. You need to be honest with yourself. Very,
Correct.
very
Yes.
honest.
Yes.
And if you really need probably some kind of stimulus to actually make you believe that you really need, we spoke about few things that you can do.
Right.
One thing that I would in addition want to suggest you is go to the website of I am Ahmedabad, I am Bangalore, I am Calcutta, XLRI. Look at the campus, look at the list of alumni, then decide whether you really want to be there. You really want your name to feature among the list of people who have passed out from those institutes. How badly you want it. If you really want it, please start preparing by believing that you really can be in one of those campuses, roaming around probably to next year around same time. You should be probably one month from now, probably you should be starting your classes there. So all the best. And thank you, Siddhant. We will continue to connect and bring more value, try and bring more value to the students who are aspiring to get into one of the top MBA colleges.
Sure. All right.
Thank you,
everyone. And I hope that you like the video. If you think this was helpful, so share it with other people that you know who might be interested. And you can go check out our website. The resources are all there. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you, everyone.